In a small clump of pine trees in a field some 20 miles south of Atlanta, Georgia, is a weathered wooden church. It has stood here for nearly 100 years, and next to it is a cemetery. Many of the names on the headstones have been eroded by time, as have the dates. But we do know that it was long before the turn of the century that this spot was used. It was long before the automobile was invented. It was during a time when it was an all-day trip to Atlanta by horse and buggy. And yet, ironically, just a few yards from the front door of this abandoned church is the high bank west turn of the Atlanta International Raceway, one of the nation's super speedways, and where today the 10th annual Atlanta 500 will be staged at speeds in excess of 150 miles an hour. More than 70,000 racing fans have come by car, by bus, trailer, motorcycle, airplane, what have you, to watch 40 of the nation's hottest stock car drivers battle it out around this 1.5-mile high bank track. I'm Bill Fleming, together with Chris Economaki, on a rather cold and kind of blustery day here in the sunny south. But we do have sunshine, despite the fact the temperatures are kind of low. This particular race is noteworthy because it marks the debut, competitively, of the Ford Talladega and the Mercury spoiler cars. And to bring us up to date on the more technical aspects of today's race, let's join Chris Economaki, our colleague in the pit area. Chris?
Thanks, Bill. The story going into the Atlanta 500, one of engines and one of tires. The Boss 429, Ford's newest racing stock car engine. The most powerful engine ever built. 600 horsepower, 623 pounds, and that makes it one of the heaviest ever built. 123 pounds heavier than the engine that won the Daytona 500 for them. And then there's the tires. The track record has been broken thanks to soft tires. And now we find that the pole winner, David Pearson, along with Buddy Baker, Bobby Isaac, and Swede Savage, have got tires on that are going to wear out very rapidly. And they have an option. Start the race with the soft tires and make a pit stop in the early laps, or change to a different composition tire, but surrender their starting positions and start in the back. We'll know their decision in a matter of moments.
All right, thank you, Chris, and we'll look forward to your comments throughout the race. Well, the decision has been made by some of the drivers to change the tire composition, which means they will have to move to the back. And in particular note is the pole sitter, car number 17, David Pearson. He set a qualifying record, but now he has changed tires. He has moved way back to the last car in the field. Also back there will be Bobby Isaac and Buddy Baker. This should be some start. And Charlie Glotzback has now moved to the inside pole in that red number 6 Dodge Charger. Also today on ABC's Wide World of Sports, we'll be taking you to Colorado Springs, Colorado for the World Ice Dancing Championship with Jim McKay and Dick Button. And we'll join Jack Kramer for action in the National Platform Tennis Championship in Scarsdale, New York. So it promises to be a big, full day here on Wide World of Sports, and we'll be getting it all underway in just a moment with the start of the Atlanta 500. Glotzback in 6 on the pole. Bobby Allison in 22 next to him. Elmo Langley in 64. Frank Warren in 80. Cale Yarborough in 21 and Paul Goldsmith alongside of him in 99. Richard Petty in 43. Leroy Yarborough in 98. James Hilton in 48. Buddy Arrington in 67. And then as we move way back at 37th spot is Buddy Baker and Bobby Isaac, and then Swede Savage and David Pearson. In addition to the fact that we have 40 cars of racing caliber on the track and a pace car, we also have a camera car. And in that car is our colleague Chris Economaki, who is going to be calling the start of this race from the camera car. And I think you'll get a kick out of it if you can hear it above the din. And there's the camera car, so let's go down to Chris Economaki. Chris?
Right you are, Bill. This is going to be an unusual start with 4 of the fastest cars. Number 17, David Pearson. Number 13, Swede Savage. Number 71, Bobby Isaac. And number 3, the fastest qualifier of them all, Buddy Baker, starting at the tail end. We're going into the steeply banked turn number 3 as the drivers are pressing their throttles to the floor, coming down for the start of this Atlanta 500. They're starting to pull away. Our car is going now 85 miles an hour, and the field is pulling away from us as the green flag is now being waved on the race.
All right, very good, Chris. Great start, and Charlie Glotzback sings into that first turn. Allison right behind him, and all the cars make it safely through that number 1 turn, and they head down the backstretch with Glotzback in the lead and Allison right behind, and Cale Yarborough moving up into the number 3 spot. And also Also flying very fast is Buddy Baker in car 3 and David Pearson in 17. They've also moved at least 10 or 11 cars out of the way as they come around to the end of the first lap. And flashing by the grandstand here is Charlie Glotzback in the lead, Allison behind him, and Cale Yarborough closing in on Allison. David Pearson is now in 23rd, and Buddy Baker's ahead of him. Baker setting the qualifying record after Pearson had set it earlier at 156 plus. He came back at 158. And the speeds are tremendous here as we move into the conclusion of lap number 2. There's Cale Yarborough just alongside of Bobby Allison. And Yarborough gets through to take second place, chasing Charlie Glotzback. So Allison has dropped back to third. Cale Yarborough has second place. And at the end of the second lap, Baker has moved up, as has David Pearson and Bobby Isaac. And now Cale moves in on Glotzback down the middle of the backstretch. And Yarborough takes the lead after 2.5 laps. He started in the number 5 spot on the inside pole in row number 3. NASCAR's all-time leading money winner, Cale Yarborough, driving the new Mercury spoiler, has taken the lead from Glotzback. Goldsmith is right behind Glotzback. Allison is now running in the number 5 spot. And Leroy Yarborough has moved up into the top 6. And now Buddy Baker has moved up into the number 9 spot. There's Glotzback running second, but he is dropping just a little bit on each lap to Cale Yarborough, who is really flying here. Glotzback, and there's Goldsmith. Goldsmith is on the inside low, and it looks like he's going to take Glotzback for second. They're right alongside, fender to fender, and right behind them is Bobby Allison, who'd like to shoot through there. And behind them, car number 98 is Leroy Yarborough. Before the race got underway today, Chris Economaki had an opportunity to talk to the pole sitter, Charlie Glotzback, about the competition out on the track, and here's what he had to say.
What about the competition, Charlie? Who do you look for to give you the most trouble?
Well, there's about 6, I guess, out there that'll give you trouble. Pearson and Cale, Leroy, and Bobby Allison, and Buddy Baker, Paul Goldsmith. I mean, there's several that'll give you trouble all day long. That's for sure. They always do.
And they are right now, as the very men that he was talking about are battling Charlie Glotzback for second place in this most exciting race. Chris, I don't know whether you've gotten the timing on the early laps, but they are really blazing.
It's the fastest race we've ever seen here. Cale is streaking, but Buddy Baker back at number 3 is turning an even faster lap time, trying to catch up.
Baker started in the 37th position, has now moved up into number 9. And there is Bobby Isaac, who is just ahead of Buddy Baker right now in the number 8 spot. Isaac started in the number 38 position in this race. Sweet Savage in 13 was in the last row of the inside, and David Pearson in car number 17 was the last row on the outside. Now you see Buddy Baker taking over 8th spot from Bobby Isaac. And so what you say is true, Chris. It seems that Baker seems to be running right now hotter than anybody on the track.
He'll be knocking on Cale's back bumper if he keeps running this way.
Charlie Glotzback getting a challenge now from Leroy Yarborough. Leroy just coming up on the side. This is the battle for second place. And because of traffic, Glotzback had to slow just a little bit, and Leroy slides by.
It looks like these Mercury spoilers, Cale's and Leroy's, are handling beautifully on the track today, Bill. Cale's taking a very high line, and he can ride down low wherever he wants to.
And there's his speed, 36.2 on this 1.5 mile track, converts to 149.171 miles an hour for Cale Yarborough. And here's a slide, a car in trouble down on the inside, E.J. Trevette in car 08, but there is no caution flag. So apparently everything is okay. They're still running under the green and running very hot. We'll be back with more of the Atlanta 500 in just a moment. remarkable performance up to now is Buddy Baker in car number 3 and Bobby Isaac in car number 71. They have moved to second and third, respectively, and with that sign for Cale to pit, it means that Buddy Baker in 3 here, or Bobby Isaac, depending on which one's in front at the time they've been dueling back and forth, could take the lead. And there's Isaac down low, Baker high.
This is significant, Bill. It's 51 laps. That's only 75 miles or thereabouts. It means that Cale may have to make an extra pit stop. He's not getting the best gas mileage.
And we have run those laps without a caution flag. When you consider that 40 cars started this race, and we have had a lot of heavy traffic and fast going, it really is an unbelievable feat to go this long without a caution. And there, Bobby Isaac has the lead over Buddy Baker, and Cale is slowing down and is going to be entering the pit area. This is a very significant pit stop, and we'll check and see what they do.
It's a rare thing that they stop on the green, Bill, and here he comes down into the pits now. The Wood brothers ready to go to work on the car. The car stops, and the clock starts. We're going to time this stop to see just how long it takes to get him out. 2 10-gallon cans of fuel will be given the car, and the right side tires only are being changed. And these are the masters of the pits. There's the driver waiting for the signal to go. A tap on the back of the car will tell him he's ready to go. And there's the tap now, and away he goes, and the stopwatch says a remarkable 18.8 seconds. Truly a great pit stop.
And now I believe it's going to trigger a lot of pit stops, because here comes Richard Petty coming in, and the Petty crew, all dressed in blue, coming out very quickly to give him service. Bobby Allison is in car number 22. And right now, it means that car number 71, Bobby Isaac, and he comes into the pits. He had the lead momentarily, and he is in the pits, and that's moving everybody up. Now there's Baker in the pits, and David Pearson is the leader. There is, I guess, what you could call the incredible journey from the last starting spot to number 1 in the field right now.
He's the national champion, and he's driving like it right now.
David Pearson at car number 17 has the lead, but of course he will have to come up to a pit stop here, and that means that Cale is really sitting in a very good spot. His stop is out of the way.
Standings are jumbled at this point behind Pearson, but here's a remarkable observation. At this point in the race, only 1 car has dropped out because of mechanical trouble. Dick Brooke.
39 still running, and now Pearson is in the pits. David Pearson is in the pits, and that means that Cale Yarborough will regain the lead. And depending upon the way the cars are strung out now after their pit stops, it'll probably be Isaac and Baker behind him. Before the race got underway today, Chris Economaki had a chance to talk with Cale Yarborough about his new equipment and getting it ready for this.
Cale, you're here at Atlanta with a new Mercury, the first time it's raced this year, and with a new engine, and I'm sure some problems have cropped up.
Well, they have for us, Chris. This new Mercury spoiler 2 is looks like it's going to be a real fine race car, and of course we have the new 429 Boss engine, which it looks like it's going to do a real good job for us. But having lost the car at Daytona, which was a total loss, we had to build a new car. We were about 3 days late getting to the racetrack, but we sure looks like that the Wood brothers are catching us up quick. So the car today is running real well, and we're tickled to death with it.
And running real well is almost an understatement. As he goes by us, Cale looks like he's absolutely out there on a Sunday afternoon drive, because he's not making any noticeable effort to steer the car as such. And there, Bobby Isaac being chased by David Pearson. This is the battle for second place. These two fellows have been really going at it most of the afternoon. In fact, we've had some real good duels, Chris, back in the pack.
The racing's been behind Cale Yarborough. No one can stay with him. Buddy Baker has been trying hard to, but he hasn't made it up that far yet. Incidentally, the word from Junior Johnson's pit, Leroy Yarborough's number 98, the only other Mercury spoiler in the race, is having trouble with his brakes and his transmission.
And we'll be back with more of the Atlanta 500 in just a moment. Strain beginning to tell now of these high speeds. Here comes car number 25, Jabe Thomas, into the pit area. But the big story right now is that Buddy Baker's car, number 3, has moved into the pits. And there it is. And Chris Economaki is down there to try to get a word with Buddy on exactly what happened.
Buddy, it was a great come-from-behind drive. What put the car out?
The clutch fell, and it kept jumping out of gear when I was behind Cale, and, you know, I'd have to keep pulling it back into gear, and I was afraid maybe it wouldn't go in gear one time and maybe cause me to spin.
Speaking of spinning, here's a car going into a side slide, an unusual entry into the pit area, and this is rookie Pete Hamilton in car number 27. He did make it in to the area okay.
It's an interesting ride for Hamilton, Bill. Just before the race, when its regular driver, Donnie Allison, fell ill with hepatitis, Hamilton was installed as its driver. It's a factory Ford, a Banjo Matthews Talladega, and he looks at this as his big chance.
The leader, Cale Yarborough, averaging better than 148 miles an hour. We still have not had a caution flag, and that means that these speeds are going to be just absolutely up in the astronomical area if they keep it up. David Pearson in 17 and Bobby Isaac in 71 still dueling for second place. They are about 9 seconds behind the leader. We'll be back with more of the Atlanta 500 very shortly. Right now, let's join Jim McKay and Dick Button in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Cale Yarborough is the man that everybody is chasing. Car number 43 there is Richard Petty, and he's moved into fourth. But 71, Bobby Isaac, and 17 are still battling for that number 2 spot. And in second right now is Bobby Isaac, and they've been doing this for about the last 100 laps. It's really been the story of the day, with Yarborough out in front by about 10 seconds in front of these two cars right here. And there Pearson, going high, takes over second place.
Bill, Cale made a pit stop earlier, came in and got 4 tires and fuel. A great job of pit work by the Wood brothers. He was back on the track without losing the lead.
And remarkable as it may seem, we have not had a caution flag this afternoon. That means that the speed of the race has really been something, 146 miles an hour average so far. And if Cale Yarborough can maintain it, of course, it would set an all-time record. Here is the first caution flag, and it's a spin. 2 cars involved, maybe a third. Car number 25, Jabe Thomas, Neil Castles in 06 are down. There's oil on the track. The cars are slowing down, and I believe... Chris, can you see the third car?
That's right. It is David Pearson. He's not on the track. James Hilton blew an engine, spilled oil, and Pearson has been skidded down. He took a little bit of a banging in it, too.
So David Pearson, although he's not out of it, and he's back up running again, has been bumped, and now they're putting that oil absorbent on the track. Apparently a blown engine has put oil out there. So the cars, for the first time this afternoon, have been slowed by a caution. And we'll be back with more of the Atlanta 500 in just a moment. Continues to be back in the pack. The car is chasing Cale Yarborough, and Cale right now is just about ready to lap the number 4th place car. That's car number 43, Richard Petty, who is high up there in the turn. And at this point, though, Bobby Isaac has been wheeled behind the garage area. He's out of it.
It's a blown engine, Bill, for Bobby Isaac, leaving only Paul Goldsmith in 99 and Bobby Allison in 22 to carry the Dodge colors.
And there is Bobby Allison in 22 running third. And before the race got underway today, Chris had a chance to talk to him about passing on this Atlanta Raceway.
At these speeds, Bobby, what about passing out here?
Well, passing here in Atlanta has always been about the same. It's pretty rough on some parts of the racetrack and pretty easy some other places. You know, the track widens out real good coming off of 2, and you can fan out and go by somebody down the chutes or into 3. And of course it tightens up a little off of 4, and it's pretty tight getting into 1, so that's the places where you don't push it too hard as far as trying to get by somebody. And of course, front straightaway seems a little longer than the back straightaway, so if you're running good, you can use the front straightaway too.
Right now, Bobby Allison is currently in 3rd place. He is chasing David Pearson, who in turn is chasing Cale Yarborough. I don't believe Cale has really been passed by anybody today, has he, Chris?
No, he hasn't. The only time he's lost the lead is when he's gone to the pits. And incidentally, all 6 of the Ford Mercury 429 Boss engine cars are still in this race. And at these speeds, it's a great testament to that all-new power plant.
The way the things stand right now, Yarborough is in front. Pearson is in 2nd place. Allison 3rd. Then Richard Petty is 4th. Car number 99, Paul Goldsmith, is in 5th, but is in danger of being lapped by the leader, Cale Yarborough. Then we have Pete Hamilton and Leroy Yarborough behind behind them in 6th and 7th. Hamilton in his car number 27 has been driving a great race here today, and you can just see him there in the right-hand corner of your picture. Behind him is Leroy Yarborough.
Cale is running at better than 150 miles an hour, Bill, but those yellow flags have knocked the race speed down to the low 130s. Incidentally, the crowd has just been announced. It's a record 85,000, not only for the track, but for the state of Georgia for a sporting event.
And they really have been whooping it up here this afternoon. Of course, many of them cheering for Cale Yarborough to win his 3rd straight. By the way, Cale has just returned from a goodwill tour of our troops in Vietnam and had a very wonderful visit there with our fighting men in the service. Cale Yarborough has just been flashed the sign by his pit crew of 36 seconds flat, and that converts to exactly 150 miles an hour here on the Atlanta Raceway track.
Mighty fast, Bill, but Charlie Glotzback, the pole setter and early leader, is out of it. A broken distributor on his Cotton Owens Dodge.
And in car number 17, David Pearson still plugging away in 2nd place, and Elmo Langley, car number 64, in trouble now, smoking, and immediately the caution flag goes out. And the yellow blinker lights are out. There is oil all over the track. Apparently the blown engine of the Elmo Langley car is going to slow things down here quite a bit. So the caution flag is out. Cale Yarborough still in the lead, and David Pearson, it seems to be the only man that can have a chance to catch him. We'll be back here shortly, but while the caution is out, let's rejoin Jim McKay and Dick Button in Colorado Springs. Thank you, Jim. 40 laps to go in this grueling 500-mile race at the Atlanta Raceway. Still in the lead is Cale Yarborough, and car number 17 is still chasing him. That is David Pearson. These two cars are on the same lap. Now, Richard Petty and Paul Goldsmith, cars 43 and 99 respectively, are 1 lap back. There is Cale flashing by, and he has maintained that hot pace all afternoon in the pit area. Right now, you see a fender being cut off of car number 98. That is Leroy Yarborough's car. Chris?
Leroy was pushed into the rail by E.J. Trevette. Incidentally, the Wood Brothers pit crew insists that Cale is 2 laps ahead and keep giving him the signal despite the official score saying he's only 1 lap ahead. Swede Savage in car number 13 is out of it, the first of the 429 Ford engine cars to fail.
David Pearson getting a strong challenge from Paul Goldsmith in car number 99. This really is the last of the Dodge hopes. Car number 99, driven by the veteran from Munster, Indiana, Paul Goldsmith, as Cale Yarborough has about a 3-second lead on David Pearson. Now, Pearson has been closing the gap little by little, just kind of biding his time and really doing a superlative job of driving. These fans are very much aware of just how close he's coming.
It's a close race, and the track is pretty slippery. A lot of engines have been blown in the last 100 miles, Bill, and this oil on the track has made it quite greasy.
Now, that 2.2 sign that you saw coming up at the bottom of your screen there a moment ago indicates the exact amount of difference between these two. So Yarborough has had his lead whittled down in the last 3 laps from a full 5 seconds down to 2.2, so he's losing about, let's say a half a second to a second a lap. At least that's what he has been losing.
And traffic could negate that, Bill.
Before the race got underway today, Cale described what it was like to drive this course, and as his lead now is cut to 2.1, let's listen to his comments.
Well, we come down the front straightaway, turning the RPMs are turning about 7,000 RPMs, and you go into the turn real low on the racetrack, and when the car breaks loose, then you get out of the accelerator, and then you pick it right back up again, full bore down the back stretch, and running again about 7,000 RPMs, down through turn 3 the same way, drive it in until it breaks loose, then back into the throttle full bore, through turn 4 and down the front straightaway.
Down the front straightaway he comes with his foot right into it, and right behind him is David Pearson in car number 17. He has narrowed the gap to less than a second. Now the speculation is, Chris, how about pit stops?
Well, it should be 1 more for each driver, the way the fuel thing has said. It's going to be close, Bill. They may stop and they may not stop. If a yellow flag comes up, everyone will stop.
All right. Whether they're hoping for a yellow or not remains the big question. And here is Pearson on the inside, low. And he may get the lead off the turn, smoking as he comes through there. And Yarborough says, no way. He comes up high and takes the lead once again. I don't know whether it looked like Pearson even had the lead for a fraction of a second.
A great battle between these two drivers for the Ford team. Cale has arms crossed up there. Everybody in the stands and the pits alike are standing up and watching.
And waving them on. Little by little, Pearson had, and here is trouble. 2 cars, there's Petty's car. Car number 47 is down on the inside, 3 cars. And there is a caution flag out, and that dashes the hopes of car number 43, Richard Petty. Cecil Gordon in car number 47, J.D. McDuffie, was the other car involved. Everybody seems to be okay, but the caution is out, and that's exactly what you said, Chris, that with the caution out, the strategy now becomes when to move into the pit area. There is Richard Petty, and he can't be very happy about that. Cale Yarborough has come into the pits. He's made his stop very quickly. No hesitating on that decision. He says, no, sir, I'm going to get right in there.
And note that he's changing tires. He's elected to change tires with just a few miles left in this race.
And that is one of the cars that's out there wrecked on the infield that caused the caution light. And here now is Cale Yarborough moving out. Good, fast pit stop. And David Pearson has decided, I believe at least at this point, not to come in.
A great bit of strategy here on what to do, ordered by the pit man. They've called Cale in, and Pearson hasn't been in as yet.
And he just went by, and he's shaking his head. He's not going to come in. Doesn't look like. We'll be back with more of the Atlanta 500 in just a moment. Cars have been signaled now. They're going to take one more lap under the caution. And we have 15 cars out of an original starting field of 40 left on the track right now.
One of the unfortunates, Bill, is Charlie Glotzback, who started on the pole in car number 6. He went out of the race with distributor trouble, but after he was black flagged for running over his jack. At the drivers' meeting, it was reviewed that the rule that says the jacks, air hoses, and the like must be out of the way would be rigidly enforced, and he ran over his jack, and they black flagged him, and he's a hot young man. So hot that he wouldn't submit to an interview. And there he goes, right, out of the track, his car on the back of the trailer behind Cotton Owens' drive-away.
And the green flag is out, and here comes Cale. Up high, and he goes right by Pearson. Cale came off that number 4 turn, saw that the green was going to come out, and just really blazed down that front straightaway. I don't know whether Pearson even saw it.
That's called getting snookered, Bill.
David has dropped now, as you can see, about 40 yards behind Yarborough. Cale's sitting in a great spot as far as fuel and tires are concerned. Pearson has still disdained coming into the pits, and now one wonders if that was the wise decision. Well,
you know, Cale passed some slower cars lining up for that green flag, and there may be some turbulence after the race because of that little maneuver.
Don't forget, coming up tomorrow afternoon here on ABC, live and in color, action in the NBA playoff at 1:55 Eastern Standard Time. Cale Yarborough now starting to pull away a little bit from David Pearson. After that almost jackrabbit start on the green, he has moved out in front by about 60 yards.
It appears now that Pearson's pit crew have made a strategic error. Yarborough, with new tires, is getting a better bite and is pulling away. Pearson's got the old tires on. He didn't stop. He didn't get new rubber, and it looks as though he's been beaten.
I wonder, too, about fuel pressure. If when he starts to get just a little bit low in the tank on fuel, whether he's not getting the pressure and consequently not getting the power.
That could very well be, but he appears to be running all right. It's just that Cale is running better.
Well, it's 3.5 seconds now that Cale Yarborough has the lead over David Pearson, but that means that even just a flick of an eyelash of a mistake and Pearson could whoosh on by, so anything could happen. And we'll be back with the exciting finish of this Atlanta 500 in just a moment. The white flag is out for Cale Yarborough as he comes down in front of the grandstand. 1 lap to go. And now let's see how far behind David Pearson is. As he comes by, it's 8.2 seconds behind Cale Yarborough. And barring a complete collapse, it looks like Cale Yarborough has won his 3rd straight Atlanta 500. Cale, who celebrated his 30th birthday this last Wednesday and whose wife Betty Jo is expecting their 2nd child at any moment, really had a hurrying, hustling afternoon to get this race over with. And here he comes. Around the final turn and down the home stretch, the checkered flag is out for Cale Yarborough. Everybody standing. And he receives the checkered, and here comes David Pearson around. And he gets the checkered also. He finishes 9.6 seconds behind. Now the 3rd place car is a lap down. That is Paul Goldsmith, and he'll be coming by. And here he is. So Goldsmith will be the next one to get the checkered flag. So it's a Mercury, a Ford, and a Dodge. 1, 2, 3 in that order. And the winning purse of over $21,000 goes to Cale Yarborough, who set an all-time yearly money-winning purse with NASCAR racing a year ago. Coming into victory lane, pulling over to the side, and a very happy guy. You can bet he is right now, too. Everybody crowded around. Average speed is about 132, as close as we can come to it. And that will be short of the record set by Freddie Lorenzo. That was set in 1964 of 134 miles an hour. Now let's go down to Chris Economaki and meet the winner, Cale Yarborough.
Hello again, Cale. Last year, this year makes it 3 straight. What kind of a race was it?
Chris, it was a hard race. For me, it seemed like the longest race I've ever run. I'd get out in the lead, and even one time we had 2 laps, but and I just tried to play it cool, but everything went good. The pit crew, the Wood brothers, did a fantastic job, and this new Mercury Cyclone with the Hemi engine did a great job, and everything concerned.
Did you really push the car, Cale?
I drove it hard as it run all day.
Who gave you the strongest challenge?
Well, I think Pearson was probably running the strongest, but I think we had something for him.
Cale Yarborough back from Vietnam and back in victory lane. Back to you, Bill Fleming.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. And victory lane seems to be a very familiar spot at the Atlanta International Raceway for Cale Yarborough. As Chris mentioned, the 3rd straight time that Cale has won this 1,500 straight miles of victory here, a feat duplicated only by Freddie Lorenzen back in 64, 65, and 66. In first place, Yarborough in the new Mercury spoiler. In second place, David Pearson in the Ford Talladega. He was 9.6 seconds behind. And in 3rd place in the Dodge Charger was Paul Goldsmith. That's just about the story. Bill Fleming along with Chris Economaki saying so long from the Atlanta International Raceway, the scene of the 10th annual Atlanta 500. The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Roone Arledge. Coordinating producer, Jim Spence. Atlanta 500 and ice dancing produced by Doug Wilson. Stock car racing directed by Marvin Schlenker. Our director in Colorado Springs, Andy Sedaris. Platform tennis produced by Jim Feeney and directed by Robert Regan. Associate directors, Bernie Hoffman and Larry Camp. Technical director, John Broderick. Remember tomorrow afternoon here on ABC, the NBA playoff game featuring the New York Knickerbockers versus the Boston Celtics, followed by the American Sportsman. And next week on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the World Surfing Championships, the National Air Races, and World Invitational High Diving Championship. Air travel arrangements for ABC's Wide World of Sports made through United Airlines, who also furnish promotional consideration. Today's program was pre-recorded.
The globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat, the human drama of athletic competition. This has been ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Sir Walter Raleigh, America's quality pipe tobacco. Relax in a man's world with Sir Walter Raleigh. Sooner or later, your favorite tobacco. By Schlitz. Taste the golden age of Schlitz, and you'll know why they say, when you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer. And by STP Oil Treatment. used by millions of motorists in cars like yours. STP is the racer's edge.